if you're not on the text list, then all you have to do is text the word morning to the number 87948, and that will give you an invitation to Money in the Morning. We do this 7 days a week and at 10 a.m. Eastern. And it's really for anybody who wants to improve their life. It's for anybody who's willing to take the time. You don't have to pay money to be here, but you have to pay attention. And also, just yesterday, when I had a great interview conversation with a guy that I really respect. His name's Ben Watson, and he's an NFL. He's a former NFL player. He played for the Patriots and also for the Cleveland Browns and a few other teams. I think the Baltimore Ravens too. He's a tight end, and he played for 16 years in the NFL. And I met his beautiful wife and their seven beautiful children, and they've been married 20 years, and he has seven kids. And Ben and I were talking for a while about wealth and economics and everything. And I was explaining to Ben, I said, man, I hope you understand that you're sitting on a multi-billion dollar empire right now. Like you're sitting on something where I know you're going to pass wealth to your kids because you're financially responsible and intelligent and everything else. But also, the fact that your kids love each other and you're teaching them to do that, and you and your wife have worked hard to sustain a 20-year marriage. I said that's really that you're building a powerful legacy. What you don't realize is that 25 years from now, your kids are all gonna be out in the world of competitive economics, and they're all gonna be trying to figure out how to pay bills, how to survive, how to deal with, some of the challenges that come with being human and being black and being an American. And they're going to turn to each other for support, and they're going to be an impenetrable force. They're going to have each other's back. They're going to go out there and they're going to get wins on behalf of the family. I said, so really, what you're doing is even more powerful than what even you see. You're a smart man. I'm sure you see a lot of it, but I can tell you what I see. So I want to encourage everybody. A lot of times, remember, a lot of times people make the mistake of thinking they don't have wealth just because they don't have money, and that's just not true. Ben has money. He played in the NFL. He wasn't stupid with his money. He's super smart, actually. He got the third highest. They have this test in the NFL called the Wonderlic test, and Ben got the third highest score on the Wonderlic test in NFL history. He got the third highest score in NFL history. And I said, I love this, man. You're smart, you're focused, you love your wife, you love your family, you get it, and you're an intelligent black man. I said, this is exactly the prototype that I want to see for the future. I want to see all of our boys desiring to be strong and smart. I want to see all of our girls choosing to be as capable as they can be. And then I want the most capable, most intelligent people to choose each other, right? Because sometimes you get a smart person that links up with a knucklehead or vice versa, and it becomes chaotic. One real life example. This is real. There's this, and I'm going to get to the options. Y'all know how I am. I have to tell the financial stories as I see them. And there's this, did y'all see, there's this poor girl, this Disney princess, Halle Bailey, who's in The Little Mermaid. And she linked up with this guy. I don't know if he's a rapper or a streamer or both. I guess the rappers are now streamers and the streamers are rappers, called DDG. And literally, their whole relationship has been just a chaotic mess since the time that she got pregnant with his baby, and I just watched it happen, and I said, "Gosh, I said that, a big chunk of that speaks to the idea that there's certain cultures that are just not pro-family, right? So if you want to build a family, you want to link with a culture that is pro-family, and I'm not saying it's her fault or his fault. I'm saying that it's just like wealth. If you want to have wealth, you should link with a culture that's pro-wealth. I'm just talking about black culture. I'm talking about whatever culture matters for you that's gonna make you pro-wealth. You want to be pro-wealth. If you want to be fit, physically fit, link yourself with a culture that is pro-fitness, or create a culture that's pro-fitness. Do you understand? If you want to have good mental health, link yourself up with people in a culture in a space that is pro-mental health. If you link yourself with a space that's pro-crazy, or pro disaster or pro drama or pro dysfunction, then you're going to end up in the middle of disastrous, dramatic, dysfunctional situations. So if you ever want to see black wealth being thrown down the drain, just look up that situation with Halle Bailey and the DDG guy. I have no idea whose fault it is. I don't want to get in the middle of blaming one person or the other, but what I could say is that this is what happens if one of those individuals is smart and the other one is the cause of the chaos. This speaks to how that combination and choosing poorly can create problems, right? Because problems, or actually worsen problems. Because here's the thing about relationships. Problems are always going to be there. Disagreements are always going to be there. If you're married, anybody in here married, tell me, give me a yes if you agree with me that you're always going to have problems. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to have divides. You're going to have power struggles. You're going to have issues. You're going to have all kinds of stuff. It's not whether or not you have the problems, it's how you respond to them. Do you understand? When trouble comes at you, how do you respond? If you just try to trump it and you say, well, I'm gonna double the trouble, then guess what? You're gonna have double trouble. You're gonna have a big bloody mess out in the street. But if you say my goal is to de-escalate, in fact, when I was riding to Ben's place for the interview, the driver of the car was a really smart brother named Bernard, who was from Zimbabwe, and he talked about dealing with difficult, famous people that are just rude and mean and everything else. And he said, "My strength is I know how to de-escalate situations." Right? So these little skills are incredibly important wealth skills. So I want to encourage everybody before we get into the conversation about stock options, I just want to really talk about real life options. Okay. Because before we talk about options that relate to stock, I want you to talk about options that relate to life. And your choices create options, which in options are kind of like choices, right? Choices and options are chicken and egg. You make right choices, you create more choices. Choices give birth to each other. But if you make the wrong choices, then you kill your choices. You kill your options. Do you understand? So you always have you have the option to either expand your options or you have the option of giving yourself no options, right? So make the good choice that's going to give you more choices, give you more options, that gives you more freedom, that gives you more success. Follow me, give me a yes if you get what I'm saying. Let me know if I did something good today and shared a message that helped you in your wealth building journey. All right, so let me share my screen here because I this is the first time in class I share my screen, but I'm about ready to do it. We're about to break this down. A lot of you are asking me about stock options and why I'm so excited about it. Some of you already know, some of you are already in our options class, but I thought, today would be a good day to just go through it real quick, especially now because now I know a lot of people are looking for ways off the corporate plantation, looking for ways to generate income in a consistent way. So I'm going to show you a way that I make money for my family. This is what I really do this in real life. So I'm not just a coach, I'm also a player. So I'm not just sitting on the sidelines coaching the athletes. I literally am in the game, shooting jumpers, dunking the ball, shooting three-pointers, layups, everything else. Okay. So this is going to be very brief. And but I think it's gonna be very powerful. I think it's also something that you should probably share with your children when you get done. And when we get done, also I'll tell you about our Prime program, which is where we do this in real life regularly, and where we actually jump in here and jump in the arena and create the income. So this is a quick little thing I put together called "How to Make Money Without Working: The Power of Selling Stock Options." Most people don't know that you don't have to work for money. Most people don't know, in terms of the economic system, that working really, if it's done properly, should be something that is temporary. It should be something that you do for 10 or 20 years, and then you stop because you've accumulated something. You've accumulated some assets, accumulated some wealth, and then you might still work if you want to, but you're not working because you have to. That gets back to the crux of the word options. Options means that if I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it, but most people have to do it. So why are you here? Why are you listening to me now? Some of you may have been, some people could easily just walk away and not listen. Well, some of you are still listening. A few hundred of you are listening now. Let me guess as to why you might say, let me see what this guy has to say. Well, one, you probably are interested in learning how to generate passive streams of income using stock options. Give me a yes if you're in that category. Number two, a lot of you may be here to level your life up. How many of you want to level up your life? How many of you are looking for solutions, looking for something that's not hocus pocus, that's not get rich quick, that's not crazy, scammy, ridiculous? Because there's a lot of that on the internet. The internet's full of garbage. I was scrolling through different pages on the internet. I was watching different live streams, and I literally went through 15 of them, and I said, man, none of these people are talking about anything of substance. I like things that are substantive, something that's going to improve my life, something that's going to help me be a better husband, be a better father, be a better human being. I'm not getting that from YouTube. This stuff is only going to make you mentally ill. So a lot of you are here because you want to level up your life, and I applaud you for that. Give me a yes if you're in this category. A lot of you want to invest in a way that's safe and affordable and can impact your family finances. Let me know if you're in that category. How many of you are looking for investments that are not crazy risky, looking for things that you can afford, even when your income isn't that high? Let me know if you're looking for something that's going to impact your family finances, give you a little extra room in the budget, stuff like that. Give me a yes. Okay. All right. So another last one. How many of you believe in generational wealth and generational legacy? Give me a yes if you're in that category. How many of you are thinking about the next 20 years after you're gone, the 50 years after you're gone? That's what I want you to think about. I don't want you just thinking about what happens while you're here. Your life is a blip on the screen. Your life is a drop on a massive canvas. I want you to think about the canvas, not the drop. You understand? Your life is the drop. The canvas is big. What's on the canvas? Go beyond the drop. Let's consciousness, elevate above ourselves, right? So how many of you are thinking about generational legacy, thinking about the afterlife? The afterlife is not when you go to heaven and you get to eat, chicken and waffles and on on golden plates, for the next for all of eternity and whatever. Like that's not the afterlife. To me, the afterlife is what happens after your life is over, right? Your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, your nieces, nephews, the people you care about are still going to be left behind, and they're going to have to fight through some things. And what you leave them is going to make a difference. The things you do, the things you don't do, are going to have an impact on their lives. All right. So, what do you want to avoid? Here are a few things you want to avoid, in my opinion. The pain of generational curses. We've gone through enough pain. It's time to get some of the gain that comes with the pain. All right. We want to get rid of the trauma of financial insecurity. Being broke is very traumatic. Having financial shocks is traumatic. Having your income destroyed out of the blue, losing a job, things like that, that's very traumatic. And financial insecurity is very traumatic. And the goal is to keep you there. The stress of working for other people. I don't know how many of you just really hate the idea of being told what to do. I figured this out when I was 18, actually. When I was 18 and my daughter was born, I was a freshman in college and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But I knew I didn't want to be yelled at and bossed around and disrespected for the rest of my life, right? So I saw education as a pathway to get out of that. I didn't know anything about the stuff I'm going to talk to you about now. I literally knew nothing about any of this. I didn't even know what a stock option was at 18, right? So you're literally way ahead of where I was at 18, if you're hearing this, right? But I just knew I wanted freedom. I wanted something other than what was laid out for me. So really quickly, for those of you that are new, let me just tell you who I am and my background, how I got here. That's me. That's my third birthday party. I heard it was a blast. I have seen pictures from that party for many years, and I don't remember any of it. But that they tell me that little fat chubby kid in the middle is me, and these are all my friends who are probably hating on me because I'm the one who's got the birthday cake. And it looks like, I mean, that party looks like so much fun. I wish, and that's my grandma holding me, my grandma Felicia. And y'all know, if you know the Black Business School, you know Felicia. Felicia's our Panther. I named our Panther logo after my grandma because she was the first person to teach me about compound interest when she bought me U.S. government savings bonds when I was 5 years old. Shout out to all the grandmas that are doing it for the grandbabies. I love all of y'all and the grandfathers too. So I was born to a 17-year-old single mother. My mother just she just left us. She went to heaven Christmas Eve of 2024. I'm still sad about that, so don't make me talk about it too much or I might start crying. I was the product of a lot of generational curses. Unfortunately, my biological father, I hear that heroin's a hell of a drug, and so I didn't get to know the man very much because of some of the things that can get in the way of our families. Drugs have really hit our families pretty hard. I call myself a former slave. I used to have a dream job where I made six figures. My first job at Syracuse University when I joined the faculty was I made $115,000 a year, and that was in 2001. And I thought that was the most money in the world, which it was. But I realized soon that my dream job wasn't quite a dream, that it was just sort of an introduction to a higher level nightmare, right? I was just instead of being the bottom slave, I became the top slave, but I still felt uncomfortable going to work every day. I failed most of my classes in school. Actually, in high school, I never made an A in anything. I made an A except for physical education. I could make an A in PE because I could run fast. But I never made A's in stuff like history, English, math. I never made one single A all through elementary school, high school, or middle school. So don't give up on your kids. Like some of you got genius kids who just don't fit into a system, right? So what you got to do is find a space that's going to activate the greatness of who they are. And so that was for me. And nobody activated me. So I didn't realize what I could do until I got to college. When I got to college, things changed. I was a single father at the age of 18. I mentioned that. I learned about racism at an early age. I grew up in a place called Louisville, Kentucky, where at that time I just had a subtle understanding that if you're black, there's certain jobs that you're not going to get. There's certain opportunities you're never going to get. For example, my first job was working as a in the kitchen at a place called the Hungry Pelican, a really great seafood restaurant. And in that restaurant, I always knew that the white girls would be the ones who could work up at the counter and stay clean and take orders and all that and handle the money. I would always be in the kitchen and washing dishes, and I would come home and I would be covered and drenched with nasty, stinky fish water. And my mother, I would stink so bad, my mother didn't even want to let me in the car, right? But that was the job I got, and I just sort of grew up understanding when you're black, you get the stinky fish water job. You don't get the nice, clean cash register job, right? So that was life. And since that time, I've become obsessed with black wealth, black family, and the black community. I believe that wealth is the, if not one of the leading factors that such that if we master that, if we understand that, if we commit to that, that's going to make a big difference in our liberation and freedom. That's going to make a real difference in the lives of people. And so my number one goal is to see you wealthier and to put more money in your pocket and to teach you, sort of position you where you will then be able to activate that and just break into all of the spaces where the money lives. And I'm a big believer in personal power, commitment, black love, and responsibility. Those are some concepts that drive me every day. That's what gets me up out of bed in the morning. Now, who did I choose to become? Well, I chose to become a guy who eventually found his potential academically. In college, I learned how to make an A in a class, and I didn't just make one A; I made a lot of them. The whole time I was there, I was the top black student on campus. I mentioned that, but I'm not bragging. And I won this award, Wall Street Journal Outstanding Graduating Senior, and that included white people and black people. So I was the number one finance student at the University of Kentucky. I went on to get a master's in mathematical statistics, a doctorate in finance. I taught at the University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, and the Ohio State University. Go Buckeyes. And I've written several books, things like Financial Lovemaking, What If George Bush Were a Black Man, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About College, and quite a few other books. My latest is The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which a lot of you may know about. And I've appeared on a lot of media outlets, more than I can count, probably thousands of them. And that number, 156,000 students in the Black Business School, that number is low actually. We're now over 200,000. So we are fast becoming one of the strongest HBCUs in American history and the leading HBCU ever when it comes to focusing on Black wealth while it's connected to Black family, Black ownership, things like that. Financial psychology. We're doing original research in financial psychology for the Black community, which has never really been done hardly ever in any academic journal. But we got real scholars doing this work. So we've created what I would argue to be one of the greatest Black think tanks in history. And so we have it says 500 million views on YouTube and social media. It's probably more like 1 billion by now, but the number is growing. So the work is working. The mission is missioning. We're getting it done. We're making it happen. And thank you all for being a part of that because this is really important, to all of us. I know. All right. And my biggest investment ever was my beautiful wife Alicia. And I did something that I didn't know it was going to cause such a storm on the internet, but I got on my knee and I proposed to her and I showed everybody that because I feel like the Black woman is a critical, important part of us becoming strong again, and that us really focusing and really working hard to connect with each other and to love each other and to publicly applaud each other is a very important part of us really reclaiming one of the keys to Black wealth, which is Black family. So I got on my knee, proposed to my wife, right there. That's literally a few feet away from where I met her in 1993 at Indiana University. And we went on a run, and I was really nervous that day. I had the ring in my pocket. And I pretended like we were just on a regular run, and the whole time I was just thinking, okay, don't mess this up, don't mess this up. And I found some guy, and I just asked him to hold the camera real quick, and he didn't know I was going to propose, and then suddenly I'm telling her how I feel about her, and then I get on one knee, and the guy, and he suddenly realizes what's going on. And I remember his hands started shaking because he didn't want to mess it up either. He got real nervous, and there were two girls that walked in at the same time too. They looked like freshmen, and they happened to see it, and they were like, "Oh my God!" So I proposed to Alicia, right? And it kind of became a whole thing, right? On one hand, I mean, the video got hundreds of thousands of views. On one hand, there was lots of congratulations, this is amazing, et cetera, et cetera. But then there were a lot of people who got really angry. They got, I didn't know that what I did was controversial. I thought this is what real men do. You honor the woman you love. But woo, buddy, I got it. There were a lot of guys who called me a simp and everything else. And I said, man, so okay, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work. We got to teach some of these boys how to grow up and how to really properly love a woman. So this is what I consider to be my greatest investment ever because who you marry is a massive investment. There's a direct link between marriage and money and relationships and money. And we've talked about that a lot in class. So I'm not going to belabor that point. But if you ever want to see somebody go broke fast, go get into a bunch of bad relationships. That will drain your finances. Shout out to my wife. She's the one doing the research right now on Black financial psychology, and she's establishing the linkage between childhood trauma and your views of money as an adult. This research has never been done. She's going to publish it in a peer-reviewed academic journal, and you all were part of that study. All right, so ultimately in life, the right moves can make us better. This was me before my wife. This was me after my wife because she got me to do something I never thought I'd do, which was to run a marathon. And one thing I learned from that experience is that culture matters, your environment matters, who's around you matters, accountability matters, and having someone making you accountable for your own accountability matters. And why do I say that? Well, because my wife, she doesn't eat the way I grew up eating. She eats healthy all the time. So that created a culture of healthy eating in our house. She gets up every morning at 5 a.m. and goes to the gym. I didn't do that before, but because she's pretty and I'll follow her anywhere, I started doing that with her. Um, the choices that I started making because of the environment I was in had an impact, right? It allowed me to do things that I'd always wanted to do, but I never did. And that's why I encourage you all to get into spaces, get into environments that are going to encourage you to be the person that you want to be. Get into spaces and create cultures and be in cultures that are going to encourage you to be the person you want to be, not the person that you used to be, right? So the person I used to be was Fat Boyce, and the person that I am now is hunky, sexy, slim down Boyce, muscular Boyce. That's right. That's right. Look at, but this is all taken, ladies. So back up, back up. I'm playing. I'm being silly. But anyway, let's keep going. So I want to ask you a quick question. I want to give you a chance to join us in the Prime program if you want. So if I kind of lay it out for you and rock it out for you in a way that gives you something that's impactful, is it okay if I spend 10 minutes giving you an opportunity to join Prime? All right, give me a yes in the chat if that's okay. I want to ask for permission because I want to let you guys know that I am going to give you an opportunity to join. I'm going to give you a special discount code that links to people that are in this room. Literally, the code, in fact, the code is morning only. Morning only. That means only those of you who are in Money in the Morning can get access to this code. It's good for the first 200 people. And I'll share the link in the chat so you can join. So let me know if that's okay. Give me a yes because I just want to make sure this is okay. So you don't think this is just me being pitchy or something. But I want to let you guys know how great this is. All right. So what is a stock option? Let's talk about that. Okay, so an option is simple. An option is the right to do something. It means that you could do something if you want to, but you don't have to do it. That's all. I mean, give me a yes if you know what it means to have options in your life. Let me know if or give me a yes also if you know what it means to not have any options, right? And which is better, to have options or no options? Answer in the chat. Well, we know it's better to have options. And in fact, actually, that's mathematically true. When we study stock options when I was in grad school, the first thing we learned about options is that you're never worse off when you have more options. That options always have what they call a non-negative value. You can never have an option that has a negative value. The lowest value an option can have is actually zero because you're never worse off by having more options. So this is true for stock options also. So an option is an example might be with stocks would be something like I have the right to buy your stock between now and next Friday, right? I could buy it if I want to, but if I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. Or I have the option to go outside today because it's bright and sunny. But if I don't want to, I don't have to. When I talk to my girls about dating, I say, look, I don't understand your situation that well. I'm trying, but I can just tell you that generally speaking, the person with the most options tends to have the most power in almost any situation. So you want to have options. In fact, if you link that to being black, a lot of our challenges come down to the fact that we are convinced to give away all of our options, and we sort of get boxed in, right? So options are really powerful. Options are used in Hollywood. A Hollywood studio, they may not buy a script, but they may say, well, we'll buy an option on the script. That means that we want to give you money for the right to buy that script anytime in the next, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, right? So that's what options kind of do. Every option has a buyer and a seller. That's really important to understand that every market has a buyer and a seller. That's what you need to create a market. You have to have supply and demand. You cannot have a market where you only have buyers or a market where you only have sellers. There's always a buyer and a seller, just like the job market. You have the employer and the employee. The employee is selling services. The employer is purchasing those services. You go to the grocery store. The grocery store is selling you fruit and food. You are buying fruit and food, right? Supply demand. Buyer and seller are like mommy and daddy. To make a trade or to have a market, you have to have a mommy and a daddy. And the thing about the economy that's really important for us to understand is that you can be on either side of the trade or either side of the deal. The challenge for our community is that we're trained to always be the buyer, the consumer. We're never really trained to be the producer. We're heavily trained to be the employee, but we don't train ourselves to be the employer. We're heavily trained to be the renter, but we don't have as much of a culture that trains us to also be the landlord. Do you follow what I'm saying? Mommy, daddy, buyer, seller, supply, demand. Seesaw. It's like a seesaw. Okay. So keep that in mind when you think about economics. The options market is really huge. There's about 40 million contracts per day that are traded there. And I call this options to me are like the seasoning on a portfolio. A lot of us might know how to buy stock, but once you buy stock, it's like, well, now what, right? And so with options, you're able to kind of make it even spicier and make your portfolio just right. And you can increase the risk, reduce the risk, whatever it is you choose to do. All right. Now, so typically, in most markets, those who buy options don't usually make money. And this is where I differ a little bit from what you might see online. There's a lot of people online that will talk a lot about buying stock options. And pretty much in many cases, they're kind of talking about gambling. They're basically saying, buy this thing. If the stock goes up, then the price will go up and you're going to make all this money. You're going to make these quick flips. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with fast money. But remember, making fast money also means you can lose fast money. I'm not a person that thinks that way. I'm more of a conservative sort of investor when it comes to options. I'd rather be on the other side of the transaction, and I'll explain why. So typically, when someone buys options, they're looking for risk. They're putting their money down, just like when you go to the casino, you put your money on black or something like that, or you roll the dice. And the other person that is taking their money is actually getting rid of risk, right? So you think of it like in the casino, you have the gambler and then you have the house, right? The gambler gives money to the house and says, "Here, put my money on black." The house takes their money and says, "Okay, well, good luck. I hope that you win. If you win, we'll pay you," right? And we know that when you look at the relationship between the gambler and the house, who always wins? Does the gambler always win or does the house always win? It's the house, right? The house always wins. So I don't want to be the gambler. I like being the house. So a lot of people talk about buying options. I don't buy a ton of options except for specific circumstances. But what I do is I sell options, right? As the house, you're collecting income. So when I talk about making income from stocks, this is one way to make income from the stocks that you own. All right. So let's keep going. So I don't want to see you taking more risk. I actually think you should consider selling the risk where you reduce your risk and take income instead. Because I know a lot of you are trying to pay bills and trying to make extra money. A lot of you have been savers. Maybe you have some money in your 401k, access to a HELOC, or you have, some stuff sitting there and you've been working and you're looking for ways to add to your income. This is a great way to do that. So I don't buy many stock options. I tend to sell them to other people. I sell them every week. That's how I make the bulk of my money. And so here's the deal. When you talk about this, when you talk about what you're selling, let's look at an example. So let's say the current stock price is $80, right? Now that people own the stock, you might own the stock the price could go up or it can go down. And you could just hold the stock and hope that it goes up. And if it goes up, then you make money. If it goes down, then you lose money. Well, there are some people who might hold that stock who might sell an option on the stock. And so what you can do is go to the options market, and there may be some people on the other side. These are people that you'll never meet. You don't talk to a person. You can just do this on an app on a phone, and they may believe that in the next week that stock price is going to jump from $80 to $82, right? And so what they might say is, "Hey, look, if this stock goes above 82, I want the right to buy your stock for $82." Now you own the stock. You're the stock owner. You're sitting there with this $80 stock and you don't know what's going to happen. But you want to make some income. So you might say, sure, I'll take that bet. And what happens is they pay you for the right to buy your stock from you for $82. And so if the stock goes up past 82, well, then you make more money. You make an extra $2 a share plus the money that you got from selling the option. And then they get to own your stock. You say, here's your stock for $82. Good luck with your life. Does that make sense? Tell me if that makes sense. Right? So you're basically allowing a person to pay you money for the right to buy your stock at a price higher than what it is right now. That's not a loss for you. If the stock goes up, then that's not a loss for you. You're just sort of doing what we call in finance, they call that risk sharing, where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to take all this risk. I'm going to go ahead and sell this option so that somebody else can own a piece of this so that if it goes up, I'll sell it to them for 82 and live happily ever after. All right. So basically, they pay you money to own some of the upside on your stock. And if the stock goes above 82, then you say, here's your stock, give me $82, and you make your money and you walk away. And if it doesn't go above 82, though, you get to keep their money regardless. So again, the gambler in the house. Just like if I go to Vegas, if I make a bet on black and I give the casino money, they're going to keep my money whether it hits black or not. You see? So you collect the money and you make money whether the stock goes up or goes down. You're not taking the risk at that point. You own the stock. There's a little bit of a risk there in the sense that, if it goes down, that's still you still have to deal with that. But you're not taking the risk on in terms of what happens with this money they paid you. They paid you that money. That is your money. You put that in your pocket. You keep it forever, no matter what. Does that make sense? Let me know if you're following what I'm saying. I want to make sure this is clear because I know sometimes options can be a little confusing in the beginning, and I don't want anybody to be intimidated by this concept. Okay. All right. So good. All right. So they're the gambler, you're the house. That's the side I like to be on. I don't like being on the other side because I'm not really a fast money kind of guy. I think the fast money is the don't last money. I think the fast money is the money that's built on a fantasy. I'd rather have the slow money that is more consistent. Okay. All right. Now let's go to another step. So today I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you the following. One, I'm going to explain to you why selling stock options is a better investment than real estate. No disrespect to those of you who love real estate, but I'm going to show you how the ROI is consistently higher than it is with real estate, in my view. Number two, why selling stock options is easier than running a business. I believe deeply in Black ownership of business. Black ownership of a business does not have to just be you and your friends starting a nail salon, or you and your cousin, selling shea butter, or you and your uncle, starting a carpentry business. All those are fine. There's nothing wrong with nails and shea butter and carpentry, but there are other kinds of ways to have Black ownership, right? Like stock ownership is Black ownership if a Black person owns that stock. So even if I buy shares of Nike and I make money when Nike makes money, that is a form of Black ownership. If you talk about stock options, you can literally structure it like a business. You own a bunch of stock, you sell options on the stock, you generate income from those options. So I'll break that down and explain to you why, in my view, this is a better way to make money than running a business. Third, I'm going to explain to you why selling stock options is better than just owning the stock, just buying it and then waiting for a good time to sell. All right. Now, here's a house I bought in Atlanta with my wife, and it was a beautiful house, and we loved it. And we bought it as an investment property. And our plan was to own the house, rent it out, and make income from the rental, which is a perfectly fine plan. There's nothing wrong with owning real estate. I think real estate's a great investment class. But It's not for everybody, and it definitely wasn't for me. I don't like. I really didn't enjoy being a landlord, honestly, because stuff like this happens, right? So I got this picture sent to me by a guy that worked with me, who basically said that something happened with the sump pump, and the downstairs bathroom was leaking into the neighbor's house. So I had to replace the entire bathroom and compensate the neighbor for the damage that was done to his place because something happened and things like this occur. So that was thousands of dollars out of my pocket immediately. And then you compound that with other challenges of being a landlord, like making sure that the tenant pays the rent. I don't want to chase people down to make them pay rent. I know the property manager is supposed to do it, but if they still won't pay, there's still going to be money out of your pocket. Fixing things when they get broken. I'm busy. I have stuff to do. I don't want to necessarily sit and look for plumbers and electricians and everything else and or finding a new tenant, right? So my wife and I actually we honestly found that we just didn't enjoy being landlords. It's just, and then on top of that, I don't want to go evict somebody, put them on the street, even though I'm supposed to, right? If you don't pay your rent, you got to go. And there's a long process for eviction, especially if you live in certain cities where they're very tenant friendly. It's hard. Give me a yes if you've gone through this. Anybody ever try? Anybody ever think like, yeah, we're gonna buy this property, rent it out, it's gonna be great, and then you get in there and you find that it's not as great as you thought. Even if you can get the cash flow, there's expenses that come with it. There's a pretty high barrier to entry in terms of all the things you have to learn to do it properly. There's a search process that you must go through in order to find the property. Then when you find the property, there's a process you must go through to get the financing, right? It's a bunch of stuff, right? And here's the thing, when you're in your 20s, maybe 30s, maybe you want to go through all the stuff, but then you get like maybe about 40 and you're like, I'm tired of all, like I don't want all the stress, right? And so what I found was that and this is what I pitched to my wife. My wife she's not into investing at all. She had plenty of money when we got married because she's always been a consistent investor. She did things like what we talked about, like with the $5 a day plan. So she had plenty of money, but she's not into investing. And I said, hey, babe, why don't we sell one of the properties and just buy some shares of this stock? And here's how much money we'll make selling the options. And it ended up being far higher than the amount of money we made from the rent. And she said, that sounds great because I don't enjoy being a landlord. So, again, not to say real estate is bad. I'm not telling you that you're crazy for owning property. I own property, so that would make me a hypocrite. What I'm saying is that there's multiple ways to skin the cat. And sometimes I think in this Black economic revolution, we get everybody riled up about specific ways of getting things done without realizing that you have options. You have many, many ways that you can make your money. It doesn't have to be the way your favorite internet influencer is making their money, right? So the first epiphany that I had is that selling stock options is a much easier way to make money than buying real estate. My annual ROI on real estate, maybe it was 10% per year if you take the income and divide by the amount of investment required. My annual ROI on selling options was sometimes 50 or 60% in terms of income relative to the amount of investment. It would vary, right? So these numbers are not specific or anything like that. But ultimately, I just found that the ROI was higher and the headaches were lower. I said, this is great. More money, less headaches. I'm with that. Okay. Now, the other thing, starting businesses. You guys know I'm a big advocate for Black-owned business. Still am. Always will be. And I've started businesses, and some of them succeeded, some of them didn't. I love the freedom of owning a business. You're no longer a corporate slave. The money's great. I've made millions of dollars, and there's money out there to be made, and I want you to have access to all of that. But here's the thing: eventually, you get tired. And what having a little bit of money does to you is it reminds you of all the things that are more valuable than money, right? And so, for example, I know a lot of people who, for example, maybe they said, I want to be a lawyer, and my goal is to be a successful lawyer like Johnny Cochran, and I want to charge $500 an hour and have an endless supply of clients, with at $500 an hour. So you're 45, 50 years old, and you've got an endless stream of clients all willing to pay you tons of money, throwing money at you. But here's the thing, here's what you eventually realize. You realize a few things. One, you're tired all the time. Two, you're stressed out all the time, and you find out about how your stress affects your physical health. Three, your kids haven't seen you since last September. So your kids are out here doing crazy stuff because they don't feel like they have a daddy or have a mama. Um, Four, your relationship goes bad. You know, you find out your wife feels lonely, so she's sleeping with sleeping with the mailman. Um, what else? You then find also that your quality of life starts to go down because you're working all the dang time. And most black entrepreneurs that I've seen, many of them, even the successful ones that are making millions of dollars, become extremely hardworking, overworked solopreneurs, or they've got themselves and maybe a team of two people, and they're working 12, 14-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, and it's exhausting, right? So the other side of running businesses, and I have meetings and everything else, and it can be draining. The other side of running a business is that eventually you realize life is short and you only have so much time on this planet, and maybe you don't want to spend all your time working all day. Well, this is an option that you can think about, right? I don't know about anybody else, but I'm just kind of tired of working constantly. Or if I am working, I want to work on stuff that I really enjoy, not stuff that sort of has to be done to keep things together. And so this is an option that you can consider. I had it. So the next epiphany I had was that passive income is so much better than active income. Right? Like I sell my options. It takes me about 5 minutes and I generate thousands of dollars. I could get on my app right now and sell some options and generate several $1,000s in cash just like that. And then really withdraw that cash. This is real money. This is not pretend fake money. This is not fantasy money. And literally go right out and spend that money today if I wanted to. The other thing too is that when you start a business, the other hard part about starting a business that nobody talks about is that number one, 80% of all black owned businesses fail. Number two, if you succeed, sometimes you might have to work 12 hours a day for a year and a half and lose money until you start making a profit. How many of you have seen that? A lot. I mean, think about this. You start a new business, you're not going to necessarily be making a bunch of money on day one. Am I right or am I right? You're not. You're not. You kind of, but you're okay. You're built for this, right? You're jumping in. You're like, okay, I'm gonna make my investment, pay the sacrifice now, so that maybe by the year 2028, I can start. I'll be profitable. 2027 if I'm lucky, maybe 2026 if I'm extraordinary, right? But the idea of making money on day one is pretty much non-existent. I can tell you right now that if you did even a small amount of what we'll talk about even today, you can make money on day one. You can literally go apply this today and have money by 1 o'clock this afternoon. This is not hype. This is not me making things up. If you have a capital base, now mind you, again, this is not me talking about a fantasy. If you have a capital base, if you can go out and buy yourself a couple hundred shares of a stock, you can start generating income from that stock right away. And so what that buying that stock part is that's similar to a business. When you start a business, you have to make a capital investment. If you start a bakery, you got to go buy stuff. You got to go buy the property. You got to go buy the cookies that you're going to sell. All this, all right. So that's the capital investment. So the difference is with options, your capital investment might be, I'm going to go buy me 100 shares of Meta, or I'm going to go buy me 100 shares of Microsoft, and then I'm going to start generating income from that right away. So instead of making the capital investment in a business that you're running actively, you can make a capital investment in a business that you're participating in passively. And you'll be shocked at how the income can still be quite good with the passive. So this connection, this false idea, we have this false idea that says that the harder you work, the more money you make. And that's just not true in America. Warren Buffett is 95 years old. He doesn't really work like he did when in his 40s, but he probably makes more money in about an hour than most people will make in a 10-year period. Yep. So let's keep going. All right. Last piece, stock ownership. I'm a big advocate of owning shares of stock. I own stock in hundreds of companies. A lot of my students own stock. Stock ownership is the number one wealth builder in America. And that's why one of the messages I give you now is that your children should own stock on the day that they're born. That's how you bring them into the world. Stock ownership is powerful. The problem with owning stock is that I always get the same question. I would get this question all the time, and this is what led me to think more about options. Whenever people would buy stock, they would always say, "When should I sell it?" And I'd be like, "Well, why would you sell it?" Well, because I want to make money. Okay, well, there's other ways to make money without necessarily selling it. And the other thing too is I thought about that, but that's a serious, legitimate question, right? Like people are like, okay, I put this money in. When am I going to see the benefits? And I understand that. I get that, right? So so here's the deal. When you own stock, sometimes it's a little frustrating because you have to sit there and watch and wait, right? And you wait for it to go up, then it goes up, and then you can make a move, sell something, and then you make a profit, right? Well, what this does is this takes the waiting out. And here's the thing: if you ever been through a down stock market, it kind of sucks because you put out money and you have less money than what you had before. And so, what options can do is provide another stream of income that will arrive whether the market's going up or down. That stream of income is independent of what the market is doing. You don't have to worry or wonder if the stock went up or down for you to make your money. You get to make your money in advance. And there might be examples like 2022. 2022 was a tough year. Everything from 2021 went way high, and then 2022 was kind of a bloodbath. And so the question is, how are you going to make money or income during the bloodbaths? Well, when selling options, it won't prevent you from losing money. Remember, I want you to understand this, and I want to ask you to give me a yes on this to make sure you get this. All investing involves risk. Do you understand that? Do you understand that pretty much any type of investing that we talk about is going to involve some type of risk? There's something that can go wrong. There's ways that you can lose money as well as make money. So I don't want this to sound like some sort of panacea where you're always just guaranteed to do well and everything's going to be great. No, all investing involves risk. Do we understand that? Give me a yes in the chat if you get, okay, I want to make sure, because I reiterate this point because I'm not here. This is not a Disney movie. I'm not here to give you a fantasy. I'm here to give you a really optimistic reality that you may not have been introduced to. And this one that I jump right in with you. I literally, I don't just, again, I don't just talk about this. This is what I do, right? So the third epiphany that I had is that a bird in the hand is better than 10 birds in the bush. You don't have to sell your stock to generate your income. You can sell the options on the stock, and that means you still get to own the stock, and you don't have to wait for your stocks to go up. You can actually just sell the potential that it's going to go up, right? And that's the beauty of the financial markets. The beauty of the financial markets is that you have the strongest, most liquid financial markets on the entire planet. Every time somebody wants to remind you of how horrible America is, I'm going to agree with them. Yeah, America's horrible in certain ways, but one area where we get it right to some extent is that we have the most liquid markets on the planet. What does that mean? That means that literally in this financial market, you can sell time, you can sell potential, right? You can literally take something that's in the ether, something that has not happened, and put it into a probability model and turn it into real money that you can use to go to the grocery store. I think that's the coolest thing in the world. But I probably sound like a complete weirdo and a nerd because I'm a professor at this stuff. And I see how amazing this is. I love this, right? So the options market gives you the chance to go in and you literally can sell something that hasn't even happened yet. But it's not like you're selling something fake. You're selling something very real. You're just doing it in a way um that is easily convertible into cash. Remember, we talked about liquidity in class. Liquidity is the ease with which something can be converted into cash. That's all liquidity is. Anyway, let me keep going. So the other thing about investing that's really important is that you don't have to be greedy to invest. This approach, in my view, it works better for people that would be okay with taking a little less money if it's guaranteed than sort of some pie in the sky amount of money that's not guaranteed or very, very risky, right? So this is more of a conservative style. I'm more of a bird in the hand kind of guy, and I'm okay with selling the risk. So during 2020, when you saw all those stocks, anybody remember when GameStop and all these other stocks shot through the roof and they became these meme stocks and the price went up? And it was so what happened simultaneously, because I remember going on these runs with my wife. This is back when I was trying not to be the fat boys. I've been fat before. I ain't going back. And we're running, and I told my wife, I said, "Man, they're buying all these stock options." I said, "I don't want to." She said, "Are you going to buy some?" I said, "No, they're too expensive." Oh, but I would rather sell those options. Do you see? When the price goes up on something, you don't become a buyer, you become a seller. So I started selling the options more regularly when I saw the prices were going way up. So you can let other people take the risk. So let's do a quick example with real numbers. These are a little bit dated, but this was a real number that was actually on the market. This was Meta stock in early 2024. The price was 346. You could literally get into the app and you could look for what they call a strike price. And the strike price is the price that you're willing to sell the stock for, and people have to pay you for the right, for the option to buy your stock at the strike price. So if you pick the strike price of 365 and gave it about a week, you can sell that option for $9.50. So every option comes with a time attached. It also comes with what they call a strike price. That's the price where you can then go in and or someone can go buy your asset from you. So the price of that option was $9.50. And so let's say you owned 1,000 shares of Meta stock. 1,000 shares of Meta stock would cost $346,000. You'd have to pay about half of that. So you'd really have to put up maybe half of the money, about 170. But if you think about what $346,000 is, it process it like this. The average home in America is now over $400,000. So if you're say comparing it to a real estate investment, you can't even buy a decent home anymore for that price. It's really hard to do, right? So literally you're taking an amount of money. If I buy me a house for 400,000 and I rent that house out, maybe I'll get a couple $1,000s a month, maybe 2,500 or something like that. Well, in this particular example, if I sold that option on 1,000 shares, I would make $9,500. So my total investment is 365. My income, that's what it looks like on the grid. You can pick your strike prices and then it tells you how much you get per share. These are real numbers that actually pop up on a real chart that you can look up on any app. And so this number here, 9,499.70, is the amount of money that I would receive right then for selling that option. Right. So even if that's a monthly number, I actually think it was a weekly number, but I don't have it in my chart, so I got to go look it up. But literally, if that's a monthly number, process that for a minute. You tell me where you can go and buy a property for $365,000 or whatever that number was, and get $9,500 a month in rent out of that property after expenses. This is after you pay for the broken toilets and the taxes and fees and the property managers and everything else. The answer is no. You can't find that. That does not exist. And the thing that's beautiful about this is you can look these things up right now on an app. Like so, to give you an example with Meta, just to update the example, right now the price of Meta stock is it's actually gone up quite a bit. It's actually $691. So if I did the same example, if I had 1,000 shares of Meta, today is what's today? Today's June 5th. If I sold it a call option on that stock that expires in 1 week, this is in 1 week, 1 week. And if I had 1,000 shares of the stock, the price is $691. So let's say that I tell someone, hey, look, the price is $691. I'll agree to sell my stock to you for $700. If it passes $700 in a week, I'll sell it to you for $700. You can sell that option right now for $8.90. And so if you had 1,000 shares, that would be $8,900 that I would receive right now on my app. And that's for the week. Or for however many days there are between now and the 13th of June. So it's about 8 days or something like that. So if you extrapolate that over a month, you're talking about at least $25,000 a month. Like literally, and you could do this week after week after week after week after week. This is how I generate income. And I love it because I can do it in 5 minutes while I'm laying in bed with my beautiful wife. I don't have to get out of bed. I literally will wake up on Monday, roll over, look at my stock prices, sell some options, generate some cash, transfer it to her account so she can pay bills, and then I go back to sleep. This is real. This is not me making things up. Okay. So let me ask you this. I got a quick question. I asked you earlier, I said, if I nailed it, you'd allow me to make a special offer. Did I nail it? Give me a yes. Let me know if I shared something with you that got you interested or excited or enthusiastic about this idea. That's the goal, right? So this is me letting you know that like I'm going to offer you a chance to join at a fair price, and I'm going to see what you say, and whatever you choose to do is up to you. You have the option to make whatever decision you want. Okay. Thank you for the yes. I appreciate that. I see a lot of yeses in the chat. Great. So here's what I'm going to offer you. Now, with these slides, there's more information about something that we have called Prime, which is a passive recurring income machine, Dr. Boyce Prime. And it's a powerful coaching program that we established about 3 years ago in the Black Business School. The goal is simple. The goal is very simple. It's to produce safe passive income. Income and consistency. Those are the two goals. We don't have a broad set of objectives. The goal is to put money in your pocket and to do it consistently. It's we also have stock market research that goes with it, and also income research. So the goal is simple. Let's find stocks that we can buy where we can generate income from those stocks. Then let's manage the portfolio so we can minimize the risk. We can manage the downside risk, the upside risk, minimize the risk. Risk does not go away. Risk is always in the room, but you want to make the risk what they call efficient, right? So it's like if I'm in a room, my room is always going to have some germs in it. I can't get rid of every germ or every speck of dust, but I can clean it out to minimize the amount of dirt and dust in the room, right? So the same thing is true with risk. So the program, here's some features of the program. You get access to regular coaching calls, which we do on a regular basis. That's about once every 2 to 3 weeks. Also, you get access to an investing masterclass that I have that people love. We did a stock market investors weekend that was really successful, and we still have that recording. You get free access to that, so you can bring your whole family into that. By the way, this is for everybody that you love, everyone that you love. I think the greatest gift you can give them is to teach them about economics, right? You get access to what Dr. Boyce is buying. That's why I give you a list of stocks that I like each week, and you can take a look at that. You also get access to family investment support group consultations. Remember, we created the first ever Black financial therapy department because I realized we need to get good psychologists and therapists like my wife involved to help us to frame risk in a way where it doesn't scare us or re-traumatize us or cause us to make bad investing decisions. A lot of bad investing decisions are made because we're afraid and we hit trauma and we run away. We don't want any track stars. I want you to be able to withstand the storm so you can get to the good stuff. Sometimes you got to go through some bad stuff to get to the good. Okay. Also, you get access to a training I put together on how to form an investment club. I give you a blueprint on that because I want you to consider getting with your family and doing it as a group. We have lots of families in the Prime program. Some of you may be in this room right now. If you're in the Prime program, feel free to say something and let people know what your experience is. You can be honest, like just talk about it because I really want people to hear from people that are in there. There's a couple thousand of you in here already. So you get access to investment club materials. So we have families, for example, that will use this strategy to generate income that they can then pour into their real estate investments. So they're doing real estate and they're using this to generate cash flow, right? So it becomes a multi-pronged investing strategy that can really be very powerful. We have people literally that are in there that literally are selling thousands of dollars a week in stock options, and so this really works extremely well. All right, and also you get access to what I call Dr. Boyce money makers, which are stocks that I particularly pick for myself that I really like that are great income generators. So those are some of the benefits. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this part right here and come back. And here I am. I'm back on the screen. And instead of giving you the offer that's included on the slides, I want to give you a better offer that's actually for people that are specifically in money in the morning. Okay. And the code I want you to write down, the code is morning only. Somebody type that in the chat for me. The code word is morning only. And I'm gonna give you a direct link to where you can join Prime and you would become an instant member. And the regular monthly fee is $2.99 a month. For those of you that use the link, you can join for $125.58, exactly $125.58 per month. You can share that membership with a member of your family. Bring a family member if you want to. That's up to you. And that is your price now and forever. There are also annual fees and things like that. If you just want to pay for the year, that's an option. But this is the monthly offer that I wanted to make to you, just to make it quick and easy for you guys to join. So I'm gonna put this link in the chat. Let me know if you see the link, and the code should already be embedded. If you do not see the code, then if you do not see the discount price of 125, then go ahead and use that code word. But you shouldn't have to use it. It should pop in there directly. And so I'm going to pin it in the chat, and you guys can just jump in and give it a try. All right. Now, that's it. How did I do? I hope I did okay. I have to let you guys know what we have going on, in terms of things that will help you. I didn't want it to sound overly salesy. I don't like really selling things. I'd rather share things with you that will help you. And I know this will help because this is the same medicine my family takes. Like this is how we make our money. So and I'm teaching this to our kids. Our oldest son, he's already getting involved with this kind of thing. We're trying to get the 18-year-old to get it. She's more interested in, she actually worked with me in terms of shipping out books. Like, so if you buy my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, she's probably the one that ships it to you. And so that's really more of her jam right now. She wants to be a nurse, but I kind of feel like once she becomes a nurse and she really is in there working those 12-hour shifts, she's gonna one day wake up and say, I think I want to make more money. And that's when we'll have that conversation. The 14-year-old, she just wants to dance right now. So we got to work on her. But literally, your kids will be at different stages in terms of when they want to learn certain things. What I find is that they're most interested in money probably around like early to mid 20s. That's when they start saying, gosh, where do I get more money? It's really hard, that kind of thing. If you want to know when the next Prime meeting is going to happen, we can do one tomorrow. So make sure you're on the text list for this class. I'll send everybody an invitation to join the meeting, and I'll pick a time. I got to squeeze some in my schedule. But I think Friday, tomorrow would be a great time to have a meeting. And that link's going to work for a couple of days. So feel free to use that link, and it works. I think it's 200 slots that we can take. We can't take too many people, so it's in there. And feel free to grab the link. Now, does anybody have any questions about that or anything else? Let's see. If you want to contact the Black Business School, Eric, the emails for support is support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. And yes, we do need good nurses. Absolutely. Andrea, and God bless all the nurses up in here. My mom was in the hospital, and she has some great nurses. So, and I know it takes a lot of patience because I know some of your patients will test your patience. So I get it. Let's see here. Will anyone in the B1 family be willing to sponsor me? Okay. Yeah, well, you know what, Daniil, you can put your comment in the chat. I don't really know how to respond to that right there. I would say to you, if you don't have the money that you want to do everything that you want to do, the hard part, and the harsh reality about a lot of investing is that it does require some degree of saving and sacrifice. If you've never saved anything your whole life, sometimes it's hard to do the things you want to do. Now, ways around it could be you could get together with a group of other people and pull your money together. I've seen people do that. Or maybe you have that relative who has been saving money and they're looking for some ways to generate extra income, or they're thinking about starting a business. You hear a cousin say, yeah, I'm going to take $20,000 and I'm going to buy a liquor store. I'm going to start this business. And they're expecting this long sacrifice. You might want to introduce them to something, like show them this video and then let them make their own decision. You don't have to talk them into it. And so that might be options there. I've had relatives that did that, that were like, gosh, I have this money. I don't want to work. I don't want to get another job. And I want to find some way to allow this money to work for me. And so I say, okay, well, here's something that I'm doing. You can participate. So that's something you could work with your relatives on. So remember, before I had any money, I still studied, right? And I studied because I wanted to be prepared so that when I did have the money to make moves, I would know what those moves should be. So don't think that you have to have money to learn what to do with money. You should be learning that before you get money. And then when you get some money, then you can make the move with the money. Also, the other thing too is if the cash flow is not where you want it to be, I would join a group with entrepreneurs. I would join a group of people that are good at figuring out ways to create little businesses where you can sell something and generate more cash flow. The opportunities are all around all of us. You have to gain a certain amount of economic sight to be able to see that. And a lot of times I find that being a part of, say, a low cost group of people that are doing entrepreneurial, type endeavors can really go a long way. And it might spark that light bulb that says, oh, that's right. Like we had a student in the Black Business School who made this CMOS that everybody loved at her job, and she would give it away for free. And basically all we said was, if you have something that people want, they will probably be willing to pay you a little bit for that thing that they want, for free. And so she started selling the CMOS. She put a price tag on it, $10, $20, something like that. And now her and her husband and her son all quit their jobs because they have to they stay in the kitchen making CMOS all day, and they make a ton of money from it. If you're interested in that kind of thing, you can email our support team. They can help you find something that'll work for you. Their email is support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Tasman says, do you sell both covered and naked options? No, I do not sell naked options. Naked options are options that are not protected by ownership of the stock. I don't mess with naked options. That's literally, arguably, the most risky investment that you could ever make. Let's see here. Does your service sell options in both bull and bear markets? Yes. Yeah, it can work best in a neutral market, but here's the thing about markets, Tasman, that no one else on the internet will tell you is, but I can say this with safe authority because I've read 1,000 research papers on this where they've studied this. Nobody can really tell you what the market's going to look like going forward. People can only tell you what it looks like in the past. That's all they can tell you. They can say, like, we're in a neutral market, we're in a bull market, we're in a bear market. Well, if that was easy to predict, if it was easy to predict, sorry, that a bull market was definitely going to happen for the next 6 months, then everybody would be rich. It would be easy to be rich. Then and so if it's that easy to predict what the market's going to do, then why isn't everybody rich? Well, because the market past performance is not an indicator of future performance. If you listen to any investment corporation, JP Morgan or any Morgan Stanley, any investment advisor, they're going to tell you in the little disclaimer, past performance is not an indicator of future performance. And they have to say that because there are a lot of people who lie about that. So what I do is I try not to make my actions contingent on what the market is doing so much. I pick a strategy and I stick with it. I just pick a strategy and I stick with it. And because the thing is, you can't make the world consistent, but you can make yourself consistent, right? Consistency starts with you. So, if it's a bull market, this is what I do. If it's a bear market, this is what I do. Now, I might respond to opportunities. So when prices go down, I might buy a little bit more and I say, oh, historically, when the market dips, at some point it recovers. So I'm going to get a broad portfolio of stocks at these cheap prices or something like that, right? But for the most part, if you're trying to time the market, they call that market timing. When you're trying to buy and pick the right stock at the right time, all the research says that doesn't work. It'll just drive you crazy and you'll lose your money that way. That's my 2 cents. Let's see. How much of the stock do you have to own to sell the option? You have to own 100 shares, Leroy. So that means if the stock is $20 a share, you'd have to own $2,000 worth of stock. If it's an expensive stock, like Meta is expensive. Meta's 600 and something dollars. 100 shares would cost $63,000, but they have margin where you can put up maybe about half the money. So you'd put up maybe 36, 37,000. So, but the stocks that cost more, the income tends to be higher. So it's just like real estate. If I own a $400,000 property, the amount of rent I get would be very different than if I owned a $4 million property. So the same thing is, I would say the same thing is true with options. Andrea, hey Andrea. Andrea says, "Oh, she sold her first call option on Monday. Good for you. Bought 120 shares of AST. Yes, that's a great company. Strike price, okay, of $25. Okay, expires 6/6. Good for you. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's see. AST Space Mobile. I like that company. I used to own a lot of it. I don't own it anymore, but not because I don't like it. Just I found other stuff. Oh, okay. So you're in the money. So the stock went up to 28.98. But here's the thing, because you bought 120 shares instead of just 100, you still made money. So clap for Andrea. Andrea has more money than she had last week. So there's lots of ways that you can adjust, given that your shares are now in the money. You could do a rollout. Remember, in class we cover a lot of this, right? We cover rollouts and the pros and cons of that. There's lots of ways you can still remain involved with the stock. You could run the wheel. What they call, like, sell the stock and then sell some puts, right? So there's a lot of different things you can do. And I can tell you this. Here's one thing I'll say. And we'll finish up in a couple minutes. Is that when you do a strategy like this, you're still bullish on the stock. You're still gonna make money if the stock goes up. You still want the price to go up. So even though, Andrea, that your stock went into the money, the temptation is to say, ah, man, now they're going to buy my shares. But remember, they're buying your shares for more than they were worth when you sold the option. So you made money from that. Number two, you got those extra shares that are making extra money as the stock goes past the strike price. So you're making money. You're better off when the stock price goes up. And I think that's really important. Dewan, yeah, Oklo is another stock that we've done a lot of work with. And I own a ton of that stock. And Oklo's been just going ballistic. It's been going up, 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 up. And the reason that makes me happy is because I know that most of you made money because I know a lot of you were looking at Oklo because we talked about it so much in class. So there are these hidden gems in the market, these amazing opportunities to make money. And I would encourage anyone who wants to participate to join us in class. And I actually have to run out of here. And we usually only go for 45 minutes or so for class, 45 minutes to an hour. We've been here an hour and 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and conclude for today. I'll share the link one more time in the chat. And here's the link. And remember, the code word you can use if you don't see the link already embedded, the code word you can use is the word morning only, all one word, and that reduces the monthly membership from $2.99 a month to $125 per month. There's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee if you're not happy for any reason whatsoever. You just email our support team. They will give you a refund, no questions asked, and you can try it out. And so what I'm going to do is get on my calendar and find some time tomorrow. If I can't find any time tomorrow, I may end up just picking a Saturday or something because that's a little clearer. And I'll send you guys a text. And here's another thing too. Everyone interested in options, if you want to get invited to class, text the word options on your phone to the phone number 87948. So pull out your phone, text the word options to 87948. And whenever I do something on options, I'll send you guys a link and you can participate. And again, I believe we should teach options to our kids. Teach stock, teach options. They're going to learn about options either way, right? Even if you're talking about a kid who goes out and robs somebody because he says, I don't have any options. He knows what options look like. He knows what it means to have no options. So let's teach them what it looks like to have a lot of options. How about that? Can we agree on that? Yes, because this is about other people. This isn't just about us. I want you to get rich. I want you to be successful, but I really want to encourage you to think about everybody. Everybody can win. Everybody can be happy. Everybody can be successful. So if you do that for me, that'll make me feel better because that's why I really talk about this stuff, not because I want you to sit around worshiping money. That's no fun. That will only deplete your soul. So anyway, God bless you guys. Have a great day and hope to see you in class. And you take care. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.